was the best thing that could have happened for him to move on and be engaged and get married and like move on with his life in that way. And it's hard for me to talk about this because I don't want to talk on either one of their behalf again, because it was their relationship and I honestly respect that very deeply. But I just know what was going on when we got back together, and I know what had to happen for that to come back together in a healthy way. And I think it was the most healthy, mature decision that he could have made. And I respect that. As a woman, I would never want to get into a relationship with someone and be engaged to them and be getting married to them and think in the back of my mind, I wonder like if that was really like closed for you. And I know for a fact that the reason we were able to get back together was because it was very much completely closed. And that is respectful to me.
So let's talk about your experience with, there's been a lot of hate on the internet. I know you don't like to talk about this stuff, but no. You've never.
It literally makes me so uncomfortable. But
and
like,
I see that. I see.
Yeah, I'm like can't stop moving and I'm like crawling because I just feel like there's like a little bit of that like anxiety of like people will probably take it the wrong way, or like I just don't want to say something that is like being disrespectful or like bringing up something that can like stir up feelings for someone that like I know that we're just all so far moved on from like any type of drama, and I'm so happy for that. So like I get nervous about talking about it because I'm like I don't want to like stir anything up or like bring anything up that is going to be like a thing. Or
and I get that, and I think the reason unfortunately is you guys aren't completely normal human beings. There is a complete world out there that is obsessed with all of you in different ways. And then there are people that hate you for who your husband dated back in his past. Take me through how your husband's past relationship still to this day affects what people are saying about you and to you on the internet.
Well, I think like one of the things that we already just covered is that like the timeline of things, and like a lot of the hate and the perpetuation comes from like, oh, you stole him. And I guess maybe that just comes from like the fact that they wished that like he had ended up with someone else, and that's fine. Like you can wish that all you want, but that's just not the case.
In December of 2020, a person posted a video encouraging haters to comment on your Instagram live with nasty messages announcing their allegiance for Justin's ex and just like fully harassing you on your live. What do you remember feeling on that Instagram live when you saw those comments start popping up?
I think there's like a certain like almost like numbness that you get where you're just like, you just know it's going to happen. It still happens to this day. You're talking about something that was 2 years ago now, almost 3. And it's something that's, if I was to go live on Instagram right now, it would still be happening, probably less, which is nice. But you just reach a point where you're just like, you have to just like ignore it and be like, okay.
And didn't Justin came publicly to your defense and like said something?
Well, because I know that for him, that's hurtful. Because if we have moved on, why can't you? Like, that's kind of just the whole thought process of like, it's just hurtful. It's hurtful. Yeah. It's bullying.
It brings me back to the Rob Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, the Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth, their first love, right? And people are obsessed, I feel like, with this concept of like your first relationship. Somehow it's being pushed onto you as like, get the fuck out of the way, like let them get back. And you're like, if I wasn't even here, that's not going to happen. So like, let us just live our lives. And now you go find your partner and you be happy. But it's hard.
I have had this conversation with a psychiatrist, with a therapist before, because I'm just like, I hate comparison. The whole point of this conversation is that we're talking about how my relationship is being compared to something else, or I'm being compared to another woman, and, you know, get the fuck out of the way type of a thing. So where I'm at and the position I'm in, it's not for everybody, but everybody has a purpose. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to also be 25 and married and doing this, or I could have nothing figured out right now if in an alternate situation, in an alternate life.
And I think he was America's bad boy sweetheart. And so I think there's ownership people and fans feel over him.
There totally is. And there's also this like, why is it you? There's so much of that I feel like, why you though? Like, and I'm like, I don't know.
Right? Like I just fell in love. He fell in love.
We fell in love. And like I think there was times where like I can confidently say I don't think we knew it was going to be each other several times. So like I can't say that, yes, at 18 years old, I knew 100% that was my husband. I didn't fucking know.
You almost can't live up to the idea of who they think belongs with him.
Nobody would have, this is the thing. If it was another person, it's like, because so many people have adored him for so long, nobody in their mind would have ever been like the person. And here's the thing too, is like, we're talking about a lot of like the negative side of it. There's also so many people who have made me feel so embraced and so encouraged and so loved, and obviously it has brought me a newfound audience and a newfound I want to like give credit also to the people who have like supported and been so kind and like so amazing and so great.
I think everyone in the world almost knows that you have been bullied and harassed on the internet for almost 4 years now. Like that's a fact. And
but I do think it has changed.
Okay.
I will give credit to say that I do think that 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, because of how intense it was, it made me just very like closed off and like not want to share anything really of myself on the internet. I didn't really want to be open. I would get a pit in my stomach doing interviews because I'm just like, it's like being like traumatized, kind of like you're too scared to like speak or open yourself up or say the wrong thing, and then you start to become, I had moments where I felt like I was becoming very like, not like a robot, but like I had to be very meticulous about what I was saying and very agreeable and can't say the wrong thing, and it just starts to become this very like weird way of feeling where you feel like you just can't be expressive and you can't be yourself. And then that was where it came in with like wanting to do YouTube and trying to have a space within this age of the internet and this age of social media where I can say, this is who I actually am. Take it or leave it, like me or not. This is who I am. And I felt like actually taking this step to, even though at times it was really uncomfortable for me, taking the step of being like, I'm proud of who I am and this is my personality. And like, this is going to sound probably so corny, but like to me, I've always felt like I was just like a girl from New York. Oh my God, this is going to sound so cringe. I grew up, to me, I felt like very normal. And like, I am from a small town called Nyack that is like a suburb of New York City. And I woke up every day and like, I was homeschooled and like did ballet. And like, to me, I feel like I've remained that same person. Of course, life has changed drastically. Yeah. But like at the core, I feel like I am proud of who I am at the core. Like I know I've always been that same person, and I feel very rooted and grounded, and I grew up very grounded and rooted. And of course I came from a famous family. Everybody, that's the reality of my life. Can't change that either. And I just feel like, again, people didn't really like know me and know my story and know the kind of person I was. Like, people don't know what kind of friend I am. They don't know what kind of daughter I am. They don't know what kind of sister I am. Like, but I know.
You are starting to share more. Mm-hmm. And even in the video that you made where you basically asked people to stop harassing you and you were like, leave me alone. Yeah. Just leave me alone.
I was like half joking, but I was being half serious. Like, it was supposed to be something that was like light and funny, but I was also being serious because I like woke up one day and I was like, I can't believe we're still doing this.
Because what, you like read a comment?
Yeah, like which again, like I have to stop myself from doing all the time because we know that the internet is a toxic hole and like comments are a toxic hole. But I was just like curious about something, and then I'm like reading, I'm like, are we still talking about this? Like, we're getting to this has been it's been years now, like 4 years we've been together. Like, come on,
let it go.
Let's all evolve together. Let's hold hands and really like okay, we're done. Like, that's how I felt in that moment. I was like, are we serious that this is what we're still doing? Like, we're still gonna harass me about this shit? There is so much that I could have said. There was so much that I at times was like this close to saying, and I just felt like there's so many things that were happening where it's also like there's a time and a place, and there's also a time and a place to let other people express what they need to express and like go through their feelings and emotions. And like, I just felt like there were certain times if I was going to say something, it was going to make things way worse and not be beneficial. Again, it was going to be my word against someone else's, against a bunch of other people, and it would just not be beneficial. And I've struggled with that I had struggled with that for a long time. Like, I would talk to my therapist and be like, but it's not fair that people think that this is what happened when this is really what happened. And then you get into a cycle of like, again, feeling the need to explain yourself. And for me, it's not even about explaining myself. It's about people knowing the truth. Because there's a truth. There is actually the truth of something that happened, and there's the truth of what didn't happen. So I think for me, when people, make up stories about me online, I'm just like, but that's not what happened. That's not the truth.
Is the crux of it the homewrecker thing? Like, is that what really bothers you?
I think there's a lot of timing and timeline stuff that like just wasn't true, and that's also just the internet making up their stories and like taking little bits and pieces of something they're looking at from the outside. And and by the way, it's so many different things. The internet can make up. They can literally sit here and say that I threw up on you.
Which she did.
But that's not.
Okay?
And you can sit there and say, Hailey threw up on me. It was really crazy. And then I would read that on TMZ and I'd be like, that did not happen. Do you know what I'm saying? There's just stuff that happens all the time that I'm like, hello?
Can you explain what happened when you were taking photos on the red carpet with your husband at the Met Gala in 2021?
Oh, and people were screaming? Mm-hmm. So, yes, I could hear everyone screaming. And again, I think there's a certain part of you that has a numbness of just like, I was like really surprised. I could kind of hear it, but I didn't know if that's what was really going on until I saw the video after. The whole thing of everybody being like, oh, he's trying to tell her not to cry, that was not true. It wasn't making me cry. Although it's a very disrespectful thing to do towards anybody, I felt like I had something in my eye. Mm-hmm. That's just what goes to show you how out of context things can be seen. When he's like trying to help me, I'm like, I feel like there's something in my eye. Do you see something in my eye? And I'm going like this. And he's like, no, you're good.
And as this is happening, everyone's chanting. I don't even know if it was their relationship name or just her name. But they were chanting at you.
Both.
So then you take the sunglasses.
Yeah.
And everyone
the sunglasses were just part of my look. They were just part of my look. I knew I was going to wear the sunglasses regardless on the carpet for some photos and then some without. But yeah, I did hear people yelling. It wasn't making me almost cry. I think seeing the video back after made me like, damn, like that sucks. That's the energy people are like putting out into like that you would even spend your time
camping out,
standing outside and doing that. I just felt like it was disrespectful to me, to my relationship. It just was, period, the end. But I think I've endured so much disrespect, and I still do to this day, that there was like a part of me that was just like, another day, another negative sleigh.
It's like so depressing.
I know.
See, that's like a very public example, I feel like, of you having to go through that. Is there anything that comes to mind that was supposed to be a happy moment for you and Justin, whatever, and it was ruined by harassment or bullying or this concept of his past?
They've never ruined anything for me. They're not ruining my life. They're not ruining my happiness. And that, I think, is really the win of the whole thing. You're actually not taking anything away from me. So that's what I just keep stepping forward with. It's like, you can't take this away from me. You cannot take away my happiness, my relationship, my business, my career. Like, you can't. You can try and you can be mad about it, but it doesn't change anything, is my point.
Hailey, what do you think the internet wants you to do?
I don't know. I legit don't know.
Like, if you were trying to get under it, like,
I'm like, sometimes I joke around, I'm like, would they be happy if I like just moved away and like locked myself in a house and just like, I don't know what the goal is. Right. That's what's so funny is I'm just like, I don't try to understand like what is the goal.
I think I would say it's
probably, a lot of the time I think it's attention. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people sometimes they do things and they say things in hopes to get a response out of you and to get a rise. And I've seen it happen with a lot of other people too. Like, you're ugly, and then like you respond and you're like, I wish you the best. Like, I'm sorry you feel that way. And they're like, oh my God, Queen, I'm sorry. I actually love you. I was just being silly.
You're like, that wasn't
funny.
That wasn't funny at all. Like, calling me ugly, like, I guess it is kind of funny because look at you, so fuck off.
No, it's just like, what was your point? So then the point is like they get the attention that they thought. I think a lot of people think you'll not respond. Mm-hmm. And I've had that happen before too. That I didn't think you would see it. I'm sorry. And I'm like, so why are you saying it? Are you just bored? Like, I don't know.
Can you try to explain what does it feel like to have millions of people against your relationship? Like, what does that feel like on a day-to-day basis to you?
I guess the biggest thing is like, I think it's sad. I think it's sad to be against someone's happiness. I think it's sad to not wish somebody well. Who am I supposed to be that would be acceptable? And then that means that I'm living for other people. And that means that I'm being a people pleaser, which I struggle with a lot. I do want people to like me. It does bother me when people just don't like me simply because of the rumors they've heard or the ideas they've come up with or things that they've seen. Like, it makes me sad. But I think I've had to come to the point and the realization of like, there is no way that you exist as a person, especially not as a person with a platform or in the public eye, where everybody loves you. And that's even in life in general. Even if I was just in a normal situation, not everybody's going to like you. I'm just existing in front of a lot of people. Yeah. So it's very easy to make decisions about how you feel about someone. Yeah. Especially when there's so much access to look at them and see what they're doing, and there's social media and there's photos and there's just like life. So I don't know. I think that sometimes it feels really heavy.
What has been your lowest moment since all of this began?
When things can get really dark and you can start having thoughts of like it not being worth it anymore or not wanting to be here anymore, which I have had before in the past. And coming out of that, I think it's really important. A support system is like the most important thing for sure.
Maybe if you could talk about like the shame of having those feelings, because I bet a lot of people listening have had those thoughts and you're really alone with them, and how to even like comprehend them is a process in itself.
Sometimes I don't think we can comprehend them on our own, because then you just throw yourself back into like a vicious cycle. Mm-hmm. I do think sometimes you need to express it, and you need to go to someone who is going to feel safe for you and support you in those thoughts, not make you feel like you're crazy or that you're wrong for feeling dark and deep and heavy. There's also this like kind of weird twisted thing where I'm like, I don't get to feel that way because I have an amazing life and I'm so blessed.